Is reason for alarm, and part of the main reason that warning was extended to Hillsdale. So we've gotten that report there from emergency managers in Branch County. Other than that, nothing yet in Hillsdale County, but that storm is just entering the county, and we'll continue to keep a close eye on it. Of course, we urge you to get indoors to your safe spot, away from doors and windows, preferably that basement, as this storm heads into Hillsdale County. So I want to show you the bigger picture right now. We do have tornado watches that go in effect. That yellow shaded area, that is until 3 in the morning. And as Chris mentioned, that is primarily north and west of the Toledo Metro. It includes our entire southern Michigan tier of counties and does just barely clip far northwest Ohio. It also includes Williams and Fulton counties, where there is still the chance for some rotating storms, although the biggest impact at this point is going to be for southern Michigan. And we're keeping a very close eye on storm reports as they come in from this system. As Chris pointed out, we only have that one tornado warning on the board, but there is still the chance that our entire tier of southern Michigan counties is impacted. And I want to show you confirmed storm reports so far. We have seen some storm reports come out of this system in far southern Michigan, where we see that tornado warning just to the west of it. There was a funnel cloud report, there was some barn damage, and possibly what could have been a tornado touchdown. Of course, with it being well after sunset, we won't get any confirmation just yet, but this is part of what has prompted that tornado warning that is now racing towards Hillsdale County at about 50 miles an hour. This storm moving very quickly. So what about those of you that live in northwest Ohio, in particular the Toledo Metro? These might just barely miss the Toledo Metro. As the direction of motion, I want to show you an arrow as to where they are heading. If you live in Lenawee County, stay weather alert this evening, because this storm is moving in your direction. It's not going to arrive in Lenawee County until after midnight, but it is moving in that vicinity. These storms moving from west to east, and they might just tip to the north ever so slightly, pushing towards Ann Arbor. So as we mentioned, about a 50-mile-per-hour trajectory on this system. I want to draw a storm cone on this to show you that path of motion as it moves towards Hillsdale. So I want to zoom in on where the biggest impact of this storm is, which is just crossing over that county line right now, and draw that to the east, moving at 50 miles an hour. And when it's going to arrive in potentially Lenawee County, we're going to see this system, if it continues to maintain its intensity, could arrive in Adrian just a hair before 1 o'clock in the morning, moving towards Roland at 12:33, and of course Hillsdale in the line of fire within the matter of 15 minutes. Again, moving at approximately 50 miles an hour from west to east in the direction of this arrow that I'm going to draw here. So Lenawee County, stay weather alert this evening. We're keeping a very close eye on storm reports. Again, Branch County is where Chris mentioned that barn damage reported by emergency managers, and right now it is just moving into Hillsdale County as we speak. Now, Chris, this is an area where we're not going to get the best radar data, but we've been keeping a very close eye on rotation with this storm system as well. And of course, part of the reason the National Weather Service is concerned about this is because of what this cell has done in the past. Right. And when it produces such a consistent footprint of impacts, that's one of the main reasons you got to warn this.
And storm environment too. On top of that, John, overall, we've had sort of a limitation to the overall widespread severe weather risk today, but there's a lot of spinning, a lot of turn in the atmosphere. So what we're seeing as far as storms, once they do get going, they tap into an environment that's allowing them to continue to spin. So what we know about that is when we see storms that get a characteristic, or at least some reports that they potentially have produced a tornado or could produce a tornado, we know that that environment may sustain itself for the next couple of hours. And you said it right, John, not only across Hillsdale County where the active tornado warning is, but this is an early advanced warning to our friends and our viewers up there in Lenawee County. Even though there's no warning for Lenawee County, we're still under the tornado watch up in Lenawee County as well.
Correct. And Chris, these storms are maintaining themselves quite well. And for our viewers who watch us frequently, they may be wondering, well, how are these storms maintaining their intensity even after sunset? Well, the daytime heating is not the only factor. Chris, you mentioned those ingredients that go into these storms. We happen to have a lot of wind shear or turning in the atmosphere, right, and that allows these storms to not just form, but to maintain themselves. And that maintenance parameter caused by the turning in the atmosphere is really enabling these storms to maintain their steam even well after sundown. For that tornado warning that's issued for Hillsdale County. I believe, Chris, that's the video video from northern Illinois.
This is the video from out toward Chicago O'Hare Airport. You can see it's a great visualization of what was the spinning of the atmosphere. So again, not local video, and you can see by the daylight hours, this is what occurred right around 6:15, 6:20 this evening, local time. There was a confirmed report of a tornado just outside of O'Hare Airport. This is the same line of thunderstorms and the same sort of turning and twisting in the atmosphere that John was talking about. And even though we're well after dark, approaching midnight now, 11:52 is the time with that tornado warning for Hillsdale County in effect until 12:15. So here's what we're going to do. Just showed you the video. That came out of Chicago. So it was this cluster of storms that came through between about 6:30 and 7 o'clock. Did produce multiple tornado warnings and reports of tornadoes. Now that line survived across Lake Michigan. It's come across southwest Michigan, now crossing I-69. Let's get down to a granular level with this one because, John, I do believe circulation now south of Coldwater, Michigan. Let's highlight where we've got the potential circulation. And if we're going to talk a little twisting and turning, John, why don't you go ahead and give me some storm relative velocity. Let's see. I assume it's going to be just east of I-69. If we get a little bit closer, there it is. So this is the area that we're likely looking at. It is north of Kinderhook on I-69, south of Coldwater, Michigan. So it's a signature that looks like this on radar that is prompted enough concern on Doppler radar, at least to say that we've got a Doppler radar indicated possibility of a tornado. Brand new scan that just came in moments ago, and John, that's getting actually fairly close to the southern extent of this tornado warning. It is just north and east of Kinderhook, and this is a product that shows rotation, and that's exactly where we're seeing it along I-69. So again, the actual rotation, if you are joining us now in Hillsdale County, the rotation itself, not even in Hillsdale County yet. We're on air giving you the advanced warning that this is what we're seeing on Doppler radar, and this is expected to move east at 50 miles per hour, eventually making its way into southern Michigan. I expect this is going to be crossing the county line, which is right there, the county line, and then we're going to be into Hillsdale County. So this is just a matter of a few miles now, a handful of miles or so from the Hillsdale County line, and it is going to be headed into western Hillsdale County. And once it does so, we're going to be looking for M49. There's M49, one of the closest major routes and thoroughfares up there in Hillsdale County that runs all the way up to Route 12 that eventually makes its way into Hillsdale. So that's where we've got the rotation right now. John, any additional reports coming in? And it's at this point just Doppler radar indicated rotation. Brand new scan. We get these scans every 60 seconds or so when we're in a severe weather mode. It appears the rotation may be a little more broad, a little bit more diffuse. We look to see these colors a little bit closer together, but it does look like we've got some broad rotation. John, any reports actually coming now out of Branch County?
In Branch County, the only reports we've gotten are of that barn damage. And of course, damage to a major structure like that often is indicative of a tornado touchdown. We don't know for sure because it was dark outside. But that report in the National Weather Service chat is logged as a potential tornado touchdown as of now. And we are seeing that radar signature, and it lines up really well with our rotation product. So when you see the velocity and the rotation and they're overlapping like that, Chris, that is an indicator that, hey, this storm is still maintaining its intensity and it's still spinning. And the rotation hasn't quite entered Hillsdale County just yet, but we're giving you that first look that, hey, it's headed in your direction. Why don't we put a storm cone on the rotation aspect of that storm and show you when it's going to arrive in the vicinity of Hillsdale County?
Let's do that, John. Yeah.
Yeah, as we mentioned.
Still moving at 50 miles per hour, correct?
Yep, still moving at 50 miles an hour. So if we look at the leading edge of that rotation, that area of rotation pushing into Hillsdale County within the next 15 minutes, right in the line of fire there.
Out there toward Reading at 12:05 and then over toward Bankers at 12:09. So that's going to take you across southern parts of Hillsdale County. And again, here is M49. So there's M49, and we've got a reading in that actual tornado warning that extends all the way up to Route 12, even beyond and north of Route 12 is where we're looking at that. And the area of rotation that John's highlighted for us, it's right around this area. So it's now east of I-69. So that's the location we're we're actually getting the rotation. At this point, we can't confirm that it's a tornado, just giving the indication that potentially it could be producing a tornado as that moves a little bit closer to the Hillsdale County line, which is right there at the end of my fingertip, and then eventually it will be crossing M49. Brand new update right there. Still a little broad rotation that has been showing up right there in the eastern parts of Branch County, getting ready to cross over into Hillsdale County. John, tornado watch, though, is in effect for all of southern Michigan, 2 counties in Ohio, that is Williams and Fulton County. That's in effect until 3 a.m. Tornado warning for Hillsdale County in effect to 12:15. And perhaps, John, if we still continue to see radar signatures like this, we could see extensions to that.
Yeah, Chris, it's quite possible that this one storm cell could get extended, that warning, as it moves across that southern tier of Michigan counties. Given the history that it has produced across Illinois and then crossing Lake Michigan as well, quite the voyage this storm has had. But as Chris said, until 3 o'clock in the morning, there is a tornado watch in effect. We'll be with you every step of the way until that threat has passed. And of course, it is possible that the threat does expire before 3 o'clock a.m., but that is when the tornado watch is in effect until. The broader picture, most of you living in Northwest Ohio likely seeing totally dry conditions, and it's such a close call between seeing severe weather and seeing just about nothing. And right across that state line, that is where the difference is going to be made. You'll notice this storm moving from west to east. So if you do live in Monroe or Lenawee counties, now is the time to stay weather alert. I know it's getting late in the evening. It might be past your bedtime, but this storm is moving from west to east towards Lenawee County. And I want to put a storm cone on that at 50 miles an hour to give you an idea of when it might arrive if it maintains its intensity. And because we're still seeing those radar indications that it may be turning a bit, you know, it's very possible that this warning will get extended into Lenawee County eventually. With the bulk of the storm now just creeping across that state line, it would likely push into Lenawee County not until closer to 12:40, Tecumseh at 12:50 a.m. Of course, that is very late, and these overnight timings are never ideal, but we'll be with you until the threat is passed. And even though this tornado watches go in effect until 3, it is possible we'll be done with the threat a little bit sooner. Now, those of you in Northwest Ohio could possibly squeak by without any major impacts out of this. I want to jump into the hour-by-hour timing, showing you what conditions are going to be like as we head from midnight into 1 and 2 in the morning. By 1 a.m., you'll notice those storms already pushing off towards Lake Erie, moving towards the thumb of Michigan. And by 2 a.m., I think we'll be in the clear by 2 to 3 in the morning, as all of these storms are going to be out to sea and out to portions of Canada, as well as the thumb of Michigan, leaving southern Michigan and Northwest Ohio largely in the clear. So, Chris, we've got about 2 to 3 more hours left on this threat, and this particular warning that we cut in for, in effect for 16 more minutes. Time will tell if it is reissued, but we are getting some new data as far as the velocity feature goes, and getting some new scans of the radar. Are you seeing anything different?
Yeah.
Any changes?
We're still looking at this area that's concerning right there. It is right along the Branch and Hillsdale County line. Now, this is a fairly rural part of Hillsdale County where it's headed. So that is M49 right there. We've got Long Lake, which is out between M49 and the county line. And if you get a little bit farther to the east, you've got Lake Wilson, another one of the popular lakes, and also Bear Lake that's up there, all included within the tornado warning as it stands right now. And there's M49 that extends where we're getting some of that rotation now, John. We've officially crossed midnight. We're seeing that rotation really kind of just slipping toward the southern edge of that tornado warning. And this is a product that is updated very frequently with the Doppler radar. We've seen that rotation just east of I-69 into eastern parts of Branch County, now likely getting ready to cross over to the county line, and we'll be headed toward M49. I'll really tell you at this point, if you're anywhere from about Camden, Michigan on M49 up to about Route 12, even though the southern extent of that down toward Camden, you're not technically in that tornado warning. I'm concerned enough with that rotation that's just north of you, and it seems to be trending a little bit more to the south and to the east. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, Camden up to about Route 12, want you to kind of be in your safe place at this point, which would be a basement or an interior room, away from any windows, and we want you to stay put at this point. This is a Doppler radar indicated tornado, and again, from Route 12 in Hillsdale County down through Reading to about Camden is where we're seeing the potential of some of that rotation. This is a product that interprets and sort of cleans up up how we display that rotation. It kind of allows us to isolate where we're getting that rotation. It is moving now from Branch County, getting ready to cross over into Hillsdale County, and a little bit of that broader rotation is still showing up in extreme eastern Branch County that is now far east of I-69, getting ready to cross over into Hillsdale County. John, if you could get me a little closer into this portion of Hillsdale County. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for reading there. There's M49. We should have Long Lake, which is somewhere right here in this area. That is where we're looking at that rotation, right close to Long Lake, just west of Reading, and that is M49. And even with Camden, Michigan, John, you could confirm with this, and there it is, some brand new data there. M49 goes all the way down into Camden. There's the rotation that we're looking at now crossing over into the Hillsdale County area. I want our friends that are watching as far south as Camden to also be in their safe place. Potentially we could see this tornado warning extended a little bit farther south of where the storm is actually tracking right now, just due to some of the indications of what we're seeing on Doppler radar. John?
Yeah, Chris, you're right that the storm is trending a little bit further to the south, so we'll keep a very close eye on the potential expansion of that warning or reissuance as well. But even if you're not directly within that polygon, it is a really, really good idea to be on high alert through the evening, especially since it's just such a highly variable situation with the storm veering a little bit south for a minute and then a bit north to the next minute. Even though the rotation does appear to have weakened ever so slightly, we are still seeing some concerning signs as that velocity feature and the rotation do line up pretty well with that southern part of the polygon that is seeing a bit of turning. And of course, Chris, you mentioned the atmosphere still very volatile as we have a low pressure system really spinning away. And it's something that's highly unusual for the middle of summertime to have both the instability from the heat and humidity and also all of that turning in the atmosphere as well.
Yeah, all that turning, John, and you're right. Once that environment really kind of sustains itself, and we expect the next couple of hours, we still could have active situations where we may have some continued tornado warnings. You and I were looking very close at radar. We were seeing several features that look a lot like this on radar, and it's a muddied picture, but what we're looking at is the direction in which winds are moving within a particular thunderstorm cell, and where we're seeing a little bit of that volatile motion. It is now just west of M49, and it is now crossed officially over into the Hillsdale County area. We have no indication this is actually a tornado on the ground, but we would suspect if we did receive confirmation of a tornado, it would be in this specific area where we have got some broader rotation that is showing up. And it is now 12:04 a.m. We've officially made it near Thursday morning, and we have a tornado warning that is in effect for Hillsdale County officially until 12:15, but perhaps we'll see some extensions on that as I'm seeing we're getting an update right now with that particular tornado warning. John, why don't you chime in with what the National Weather Service, they've just sent an update on that tornado warning. Have they extended the time at all, or are we still looking at 12:15?
So, Chris, the update doesn't impact the time at all. It still goes until 12:15, so that's another 11 or 12 minutes or so on this tornado warning. I do want to use the query tool to give you the latest data on that, as we do have an update to more of the positioning of it. Still until 12:15 for portions of Branch and Hillsdale counties. I'm going to put that in the top left-hand corner of your screen there. And this warning is still just radar indicated, so it's a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. And Chris, to give you an idea of the proximity of this, it's currently 8 miles to the west of Hillsdale, and there has been a slight update to the trajectory. Sure. It's now moving to the east at 40 miles an hour as opposed to 50. So again, 8 miles west of Hillsdale, we are giving you the heads up that this storm is heading in your direction.
John, really quick for us, as well as we've still got now 10 minutes left on this tornado warning, let's go kind of broader picture. Let's set the stage of where we are right now across all of Northwest Ohio, because we may have people from Findlay tuning in, or Bowling Green, or Fremont, Ottawa, Defiance, you name it. I want to say, generally speaking, if you are along and south of the Ohio Turnpike, we're going to go and tell you that your severe weather risk is exceptionally low at this point this evening, almost to the point where we're not expecting anything that would be severe for you if you are along and south of the Ohio Turnpike. So Defiance County, Putnam County, much of Henry County as well, Wood County, Hancock County, Seneca, Wyandotte, and Crawford. If you are in those counties and maybe you're up and a little anxious with the storm threat, I don't expect that you're going to see any risk of any severe storms. This, generally speaking, is the Ohio Turnpike like and north. The southern extent of this does extend down just barely into northern Indiana. All that is non-severe at this point. The one active warning that we do have is up there toward Hillsdale County, and that is now for another 9 minutes, where we are starting to see a little bit of that circulation cross from Branch County over into Hillsdale County. And at this point, it is Doppler radar indicated rotation. We don't expect this line, though, to be building any farther to the south. Perhaps we get a few storms that come into Williams and Fulton County, where we have that tornado watch in effect. John, you and I were talking, though, it's very possible that areas from Toledo and south may make it through tonight without even a chance of a drop of rain as this system works through. Highly unusual. It's a system that kind of really spun up upon itself, elevated that severe weather risk today. But here we are now into your early Thursday morning, talking a tornado warning for another 8 minutes. John, up there in Hillsdale County.
Yeah, Chris, it's such a sharp cutoff between seeing a tornadic thunderstorm and just about nothing. And I want to reiterate why our WTOL 11 weather app is so important to have for a number of reasons. First of all, when storms strike after midnight, it'll alert you. You hear it buzz off when there's a warning for your area. Also, the unique part about the app is we put out a different forecast for our southern zone versus for southern Michigan, and also a different one for Toledo. So if you live down towards Findlay and Ottawa, we give you an exclusive forecast that differs from how the weather is going to impact southern Michigan. And this tornado watch goes until 3 a.m. and that northern flank of the viewing area that just barely clips northwest Ohio, including Williams and Fulton counties, that goes in effect until 3 a.m. when we could see severe thunderstorms that may be spinning a bit, but it's primarily southern Michigan that is going to see the brunt of the impacts out of this system. And that one tornado warning still in effect for about another 7 minutes for portions of Hillsdale counties. And we are still continuing to see some Doppler radar indications that it may be maintaining its intensity. And as Chris pointed out, some of those showers near Steuben County, Indiana, could clip far northwestern Williams County, but those are not severe at the moment. We're keeping a very close eye on the trajectory of this Hillsdale County storm as it moves from west to east. And we do have an update now that its motion is at 40 miles an hour as opposed to 50. So I want to update the storm cone on that and let you know exactly when this storm is going to arrive in your neck of the woods and how it may impact you tonight. So now this storm has moved into Hillsdale County, still got that trajectory at about 40 miles an hour. And I want to put on the velocity feature to show you where we're seeing a bit of turning in the atmosphere, which, as Chris pointed out, is now in the southern extent of that. So we're going to draw the cone at 40 miles an hour and show you when this storm is going to arrive in your neck of the woods and when it may potentially push into Lenawee County. That arrival time in Adrian wouldn't be until closer to 1 o'clock a.m. Hopefully the storm weakens by that point, but you'll want to stay on high alert, Lenawee County, that this storm could be moving in your direction. Hillsdale is likely to see this rotating thunderstorm within a matter of 10 or 12 minutes. And we'll see if the National Weather Service extends that, Chris. It does look like the rotation not quite as strong as it was at this point, but I want to show you that rotation tool as well, which still does show you on the southern extent of that warning. We are noticing some spinning in the atmosphere, but it's not quite as pronounced. Here's what it looked like about 5-10 minutes ago, and here's what it looks like now that it enters Hillsdale County. It was a little bit more noticeable in Branch County, and as we loop this over the last few minutes, rotation's weakened ever so slightly, and as of now, this is just a radar indicated tornado warning as opposed to anything confirmed. And as far as updated reports, haven't seen anything since that Branch County, Michigan barn damage. Still seeing some turning in the atmosphere, and of course, it is a conducive and favorable environment, but nothing, at least, that appears to be strengthening, Chris. That is a good sign. If anything, it's either maintaining or weakening at this point.
It's great to see, and hopefully that trend continues, John, and officially do have that rotation that we are citing now into Hillsdale County. And John, if you could get me a little bit closer up into Hillsdale County, specifically where you and I have noted that rotation, it should be in that particular cell now that is now crossing or getting very close to M49, perhaps now even just east of M49. So several locations. We're looking at west central parts of Hillsdale County. And I even mentioned earlier, while Camden is technically not in that warning, it's a little close for comfort where we're seeing some of that rotation. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you're all the way far south toward Camden, I want you to be in your safe place just for a little bit of extra security on this one. Don't want to alarm you. We just want you to know what you should do when you're in a tornado warning or an active tornado warning. You want to seek the lowest level in your structure. If it's a basement, that'd be great. Interior room. Avoid windows. If no basement, you could use a bathroom or a closet, something that doesn't have windows. And we were talking earlier tonight tonight about having that tornado safety kit just ready and available. Have it stored away where you know to find it should you find yourself in a situation where you would need to retrieve that tornado safety kit in such an incident. So avoid windows altogether, and I want you in the lowest level of your structure. Get in a basement if you're able to do that one. Again, not a confirmed tornado. Doppler radar indicated is what we're looking at this point, and this is now well into Hillsdale County. So here is, let's get a little bit closer to this particular area, John, and if we can kind of highlight and isolate where we may still be seeing that rotation, because we've been talking about reading M49 right there. And we're in a tricky spot with the Doppler radar coverage. All right, so here's where we suspect it would be now east of Long Lake. So Long Lake is just west of Reading over toward the Hillsdale Branch County line. This is M49. Just south of Reading is where we've got that rotation that is occurring. Where it's headed next, it's going to be headed to the east at 40 miles per hour. John updated us on that. Moving to the east at 40 miles per hour toward Cambria and expected to stay. Generally, if it would hold this trajectory, we're likely that rotation would likely stay south of Hillsdale. So we've got many that view us up there in Hillsdale or certainly have friends and family up there by some of the beautiful lakes that they have. This is expected to stay south of Hillsdale, and it would be south of Bear Lake as well, is where we'd be seeing that rotation on the southern flank of a fairly strong storm that, in addition to the risk of rotation, a tornado, this could be producing 60 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts as well. So we've got some signatures on radar that even if we're not talking a tornado, we could be talking winds that cause some power outages, winds that would cause tree limbs to topple or even trees to be blown over. Yeah. Now moving east of M49 at 40 miles per hour. John,
Chris,
what you got for us?
Speaking of those winds and potential power outages, we do have some updates on power outages throughout the history of this storm. Thankfully, we haven't heard of any outages in Branch County, Michigan yet, but we do have some outage reports from Colon, Michigan, and we can actually get that map up for you. Consumers Energy reporting power outages near Colon, Michigan. Nothing quite yet in Branch County. That's not to say there haven't been any outages, but it goes to show that this storm potentially isn't quite as strong as it was when it was a bit further to the west, but it goes to show that this storm has quite a long track, and it has caused power outages. It has caused some barn damage and other structural damage as well. Whether or not that's from a tornado or straight line wind damage, time will tell. We'll find out within the coming days. But as of now, not seeing any updated power outage numbers, but good to have that map up there as far as the wind potential. In addition to the rotation, Chris did mention the straight line winds could gust up to 60 miles an hour. So that's another major impact out of this severe thunderstorm headed into Hillsdale County.
All right, John, we're getting that update now on Doppler radar as well, and where we're seeing that rotation, a brand new scan that is just coming through. I'm going to tell you that is now east of M49, and there's a route that connects Reading with Cambria that is Lilac Road that runs generally from the south end of Reading on M49. That is approximately where we're seeing the rotation. It would be right in this area, the potential rotation where the winds are going toward and away from radar at competing directions. So a little bit of that spin in the atmosphere that John was talking about earlier this evening. John, if you want to turn it over to our shear parameter just to see, I assume it's going to be a little bit behind because that product updates a little bit slower.
Now, Chris, I do want to also point out that as of 12:13 a.m., the National Weather Service Northern Indiana said that has been expired. The tornado warning for Branch and Hillsdale has been expired, but we want to make sure that there's not a new warning that is reissued, as there is still a history of shear or spinning in the atmosphere. Talk to us about what you're seeing there on the rotation tracks with that storm.
Yeah, so we're going to stay with this just for a few minutes because you're right, John. We want to be cautious and make sure that all warnings have expired before we send you back to our regularly scheduled program, because this has been coverage of an active tornado warning. And just as John has put this up here, this particular cell has had a history of rotation right across M49. So what we're seeing on radar, at least up till the past few minutes, was some rotation that was occurring that was just crossing M49. And that is going to continue across Hillsdale County. Now, we have seen a little weakening in this, which means we may not have as tight of rotation, or it may be a little bit broader in the atmosphere. you need tight rotation to actually get that tornado to form and to reach and make contact with the ground. So Hillsdale County, as John had just said 60 seconds ago, that tornado warning, which was expected to expire at 12:15, has been allowed to expire. Let's widen this picture out, John. Let's go back to radar as well, as we have had some history of rotation, because again, you and I, we want to tell everyone when it's safe to let our guard down just a little bit. And we're not quite to that point yet, because we do suspect there still may be a few storms up there in Hillsdale County that could have some rotation. So, John, as it stands right now, Hillsdale, Lenawee, Monroe, Williams, and Fulton County, you are under a tornado watch, which means conditions could be favorable for a tornado. That's going to be for until 3 a.m., which is a healthy buffer of time, so to speak, between now and 3 a.m. Hopefully we're able to put that severe storm threat to bed before then. But at this point, we have 5 counties that are under a tornado watch. John, I'm going to send it back over to you just in case you have any additional information. And if we don't have any additional warnings, we'll be able to send it back to regularly scheduled programming in just a few moments here.
Yeah, Chris, not seeing any signs of any new warnings. The National Weather Service did say that storm weakened to the extent that it no longer appears capable of producing a tornado, but the ingredients are still ripe, and we still have that tornado watch that goes in effect until 3 a.m. And we'll be sure to give you the all clear right here, and also on that WTOL 11 weather app, giving you the all clear that, hey, we are totally done with severe weather for the night. But as of now, just about 12:17, not seeing any signs of a new warning issued. If we could take that graphic full, just going to peer at the National Weather Service chat one more time to make sure we don't have any new warnings. Again, the expiration occurred at 12:13, and they said the storm that has prompted the warning has weakened below severe limits, no longer appears capable of producing a tornado. But of course, the environment is still very much conducive to some rotation in the atmosphere. Right now, that storm is centered over Hillsdale County. Lenawee County, you'll still want to be on high alert throughout the next couple of hours as these storms are headed in your direction. But overall, the good news is there has been a weakening trend. That tornado warning has expired, and there has not been any new issuance now as of 12:18, Chris.
And here's what we'll do, John. We're going to jump on the WTOL 11 weather app. So as soon as we send you back to regularly scheduled programming, we'll send you an update on where that future storm threat may continue through the evening. But again, as John said, there are no active severe warnings. Our tornado watch does continue, and we'll be sure to jump back on air should any future threats arise in the coming moments and hours. But for now, we'll send you back to your regularly scheduled programming.